friends. Welcome back to the Happy Whole You podcast. I'm so glad you're here. I'm here with Miss Heather Laganelli, and she brought food, of course, because whenever we record together, she brings the best food and treats.
Hi guys. I'm so excited to eat what we're eating right now too. Like
Yeah,
my mouth's on fire, by the way.
I know. I noticed you brought spicy.
I
So
know.
Heather doesn't do spicy, but she knows I love it. So she totally went out and added the spicy sauce to this wonderful dish that they make at her local restaurant, Locale Farm to Table. It is sweet potatoes and Brussels sprouts. It's called the sweet potato Brussels sprout bowl. It has a little bit of bacon in it. Has a fresh cracked egg over the top with avocado, and then her secret sauce, which is delicious,
It's
and
a sriracha garlic aioli.
sriracha garlic aioli. Anyways, it's great. And literally earlier before this, I already ate chicken parm that she brought as well. She literally showed up to my office carrying these 2 big bags. She had her fresh pressed juice in one hand, her hydrogen water in the other, and then 2 bags, and it was just funny. I was gonna get up to help her, but it was just she was so close to where she was gonna land that it was just I just had to smile at her. She had it. She got it under control.
But we're eating, so if you hear us kind of chomping away or there's like a weird silence because we're
Chewing.
making it a bite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
And today we're excited to chat about some of the things that maybe aren't commonly spoken about. I sent Anna Marie a text the other day and I was like, "Hey girl, I think that there's some stuff that society is missing as a whole, and I feel like for whatever reason, it's just not being talked about." And it came to me when I was talking to somebody else in town, another business owner, and we were talking about something that we just knew as it was common knowledge to us. And I realized it's probably not common knowledge to most people. We were talking about depression,
Mhm.
and we were talking about how sometimes people go under this medical kind of uh pathway where they're being treated with things and then they're not able to, show up in a functioning way in society, and it's just accepted, and I know it's such a random correlation, and I bring this back to, my cat way back in the day. I went to the vet, and my cat was just, stressed because we had at the time, we had, soccer teams coming over our house on a regular basis, so there would be, 15, 12-year-olds in our house or, 7 9-year-olds, and they're waiting for, a van to pick them up and go out of town for the weekend or whatever, and for the 3 hours that they were there, my cat would hide under the bed, and so I told the vet, "My cat's hiding under the bed, and there's a lot of commotion in the house and all these things," and the vet was like, "Oh, yeah, we'll just put the cat on an antidepressant." And so at the time, this is a while ago,
That's
at the
great.
time, I was like, "Well, I don't want him to suffer," and he's clearly suffering, he hated me, he wouldn't even, look at me for, 2 days because I was disrupting his environment. Well, I do it. Yeah, he stays under the instead, he just never came out from under the bed. He would wait until everybody went to sleep, and then he would go eat or do whatever. He was, miserable. It totally shifted.
So you took the pill?
I gave it to him thinking I didn't know. I didn't know what I know now.
Uh-huh.
All I knew was something's wrong with my cat. I wasn't really considering the fact that, that many kids in the space would be that big of a disruption.
Mhm.
Obviously, his whole world was turned upside down.
Yeah,
And
it's a normal response.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're thinking "What's wrong with this cat?"
There's nothing wrong with him. There's
Nothing.
something wrong with me that I freaking brought a bunch of strangers into a space that was his and
Mhm.
expected him to adapt to, this new environment without giving him, a trickle or, some kind of a slow adaption
Yeah,
period.
yeah. When I got my one of the dogs I got, Grimmy, he was, abused, and when we got him, the people that had him before had adopted him, had him for, 24 or 48 hours, and they brought him back because they were like, "Something's wrong with this dog, it goes and hides and it won't come out." So then we bring it home, and literally for, the first week, I was like to my husband, I was like, "Carl, yeah, he just hides." He's like, "Don't worry about it. He's getting used to it. Give him time. Give him time." And he kept saying that. And then now, every time you've seen him, every time I walk in the door, he will fight the other dogs to be as close as he can to my leg. And it's just so interesting because he was like a dog that was abused and he didn't wanna be around anybody, no one. And it takes time to adapt and, like, work through it, but yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, animals do that when they
People do too. That
right.
was the whole purpose, though. For me,
Yeah.
it was, like, clear as day. Like, I saw that, and then I started to think about that, and I was like, "Okay, if a cat can't handle that and can't speak and all the things and tell us how they're feeling, like, that one shift is impacting that being so much." And then if we're just, like, pacifying that or even, like I don't really know exactly how depression that
I
actually
didn't
works.
even know that there were antidepressants for animals.
Mhm.
Now that to me is like I mean, of course there are, I guess, now, but, like, I don't know. I never knew that.
Well, and all I could think about was, what kind of quality of life is that? You know, like, for him to be, like, hiding underneath the bed like that, I just felt like I felt like a bad person. I was like, "You know what? We're gonna change some things around here." If you have a tournament and you want to have a meeting point, let's just pick a public place as a meeting point instead of our house because
So
when he started peeing on stuff.
oh, yeah, he was scared.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
totally. It was his body responding to his level of mental health.
Mhm. And he was at capacity.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
when it comes to what do you know about this kind of, like from a
Depression?
well, yeah, like, what do you know about how our bodies are wired and why we have those sorts of responses?
Well, we have in, like, our autonomic nervous system, we have this automatic response that one is innate, so it's a program that's been within us through millennia, right? A bear's chasing you, run, get out of the way. That it's a very natural response. You go from a very heightened state to getting to a safe space, and then you go back to rest, digest, everything's fine. Um, but it's like when the wires get crossed, because if you say you have a child that grows up in a household where they don't feel safe, where they don't feel loved and nurtured and connected. That programs in them that something is wrong because that is not that is something is wrong, right? It's not normal to not have nurturing when you're younger. So of course that's going to affect your mental health when you're older. This is exactly what happened to me and I had no clue. I just thought something was wrong with me.
You thought something was wrong with you because you were responding in a way that was internal that you didn't see other people respond to? Or why did you think something was wrong?
Well, cuz I didn't feel okay inside.
Mm.
And I look around and I see everybody else is thriving, everybody else is fine, and then it's like, I don't wanna say anything because, I guess on the outside, maybe I did look fine, but I didn't feel okay inside, and so it was like plus I was when I was going through that, I was a teenager, right? So I didn't have language to say how I was feeling. I
We
didn't
even have the resources then to, like, Google something. Underage, like,
Yeah,
we couldn't just
yeah.
be like, "What's wrong with me?"
And if I were to bring it up to even, like, in my family, like, you know, I would be made fun of, it would be like, "Oh, you just want attention," or whatever. So it wasn't something that I openly spoke about. Um,
We also had a big family, so
yeah,
it wasn't like an intimate setting where you could just freely talk about whatever.
yeah, no, not even close. But
Yeah.
again, it goes back to, like, environment, feeling safe enough to speak. If you don't feel safe enough to speak, of course you have mental health challenges. And you probably also have issues with digestion and
Mhm.
issues with your nervous system and issues with, maybe even headaches or, I mean, your body physically is responding to say, hey, you need to change your environment. But we don't look at it like that. We just think, oh, I need to take a pill or something's wrong with me. I have anxiety or I have depression or all this. And then, oh, yeah, now I have digestive issues. And
I never even connected that until you just said that right now because I know when you look at my eyes, you've told me that I have like my nervous system is being like attacked basically.
mhm.
And my gut wasn't doing well. I was trying to like cut out dairy, cut out gluten, cut out like alcohol, cut out all these things to try to like level out my gut health. I never connected it with feeling like I'm not being heard or not having the ability to be heard.
Mhm.
Where does that even come from?
Emotionally. Yeah, I mean, in Chinese medicine, they've done the best job of really tying organ systems to different emotional blockages being stored in the body. I see it every single day when I work with clients. I can't tell you how many women have weight gain, weight issues. And when we get to the root of it, for some of them, it's because they've been abused.
Mm.
They don't want anyone to like physically touch them
Mhm.
or want them in that way. So if they gain weight, then it's a way for them to protect themselves. I've had women
And
that
that's subconscious, right? Or is it
yeah, subconscious. I had one client who she's like, "Oh, I know exactly why." And I was like, "Dang, that was
one?
very insightful."
But one out of,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
thousands,
or
right?
yeah, yeah,
Because 'Cause you've been doing this for what, 8 years?
yeah. So that one was very I remember that because I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Girl, you know." It was interesting.
But that's the exception to the rule. So
Correct.
normally that would be something that's happening on a subconscious level.
Right. Yeah. And then
I've
also
experienced that with so many people that I know. Like,
yeah.
I can list like 10 people off the top of my head
Mhm.
that have out of the blue just started gaining weight.
Yeah.
And then they're going through a hard time. And I'm like, wait, what does it come back to? Their relationship isn't doing well. Or
Yes.
like most often it seems to be that their significant other is having issues and their like response is like
Mhm.
either their significant other cheated or like they're getting a divorce or whatever it may be.
Yeah. You give me any person and they can tell me the things they're struggling with, and I can let them know what organ system they need to support. Or give me vice versa. Give me somebody who has a physical symptom of something, and I can tie that back to an emotional blockage going on in their body. So I literally can spend 5 minutes with someone and get great insight on what it is they need.
Can
And
it
it's wild.
can you just like once a month set up like a 2-hour window of time where you have people that can come out here and into your center, into your space and spend 5 minutes with you?
Mhm.
Like, kinda like doctors do pro bono for, the public,
Yeah.
where they'll, like
Yeah. Well, I've done a little bit of that at your restaurant.
I mean, you could do that at my restaurant and get
Yeah.
better, but I think it would be great to have it happen here in your center where it's, like, one whatever day you don't
5 minutes.
each
Yeah.
person gets 5 minutes for 2 hours.
We take a quantum leap in 5 minutes of literally what you need to do mentally and physically to literally change the trajectory of your life.
And I'm saying this right now to you, but literally 2 days ago, I had this idea, and I texted it, and then I deleted it, and then I did a voice memo, and then I deleted it, and I was like, "I need to tell her this in person," because I feel like
Yeah.
I was getting a massage. My lady has been in China for 4 months, and she's incredible. My back, I went and
Oh, yeah.
cupping. She
Mhm.
did cupping, she did the ear waxing,
Yeah.
kindling thing, whatever.
Look up in your eye.
Something's happening.
Yeah, what's going on in your
I
eye?
don't know, I think I didn't get any sleep. I went on the news,
You were rubbing your eyes?
I got an hour of sleep, an hour and a half or 2 hours or something.
Yeah.
Did I rub it?
Yeah.
Is it like
There's a
blood
yeah.
clot?
Mhm.
I looked up in a video
That's
this morning.
parasites.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I took that whole bottle.
Yeah, that's good. You might need to take it for longer. Or just have I have someone getting ivermectin for me, and I can
Isn't the
give stuff.
ivermectin what people were using for COVID at one
Yeah.
point? Yeah.
For parasitic. Yeah.
Oh. But I was, like,
Parasitic.
doing the Cedrus or whatever,
Yeah, that's great.
but I'm gone now. It's
Yeah.
done. So do
You should probably do it again.
okay,
Yeah.
I can hit that today.
Yeah.
But so the point was that she, her dad so she went to China because her dad isn't doing well, and she's telling me all these things, and I was like, "Can you just send me all of those things that you just said?" And then I'm gonna tell my friend because she's here now, but she feels guilty because her dad's there and his health
Uh,
is like
yeah.
he thinks he's about to die, and I don't think it's something that can't be fixed. I feel like
Mm.
you would just hear the things and you'd be like, "He's mineral deficient in this, and he's
Yeah.
blah, that," and, like and they're all about Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
legit in China.
Yeah.
And so she does a lot of really cool things and, like,
Yeah.
believes in different healing modalities, and it just got me thinking about if more people had access to you,
Mhm.
even just to, like, build that level of trust and, like, to get information out there because I
Yeah.
feel like there's this big disconnect between what's realistic and what's happening from a treatment perspective.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, just have her send me the stuff.
Yeah, but then it's, like, not fair that only I would be able to do that. Like, it seems silly to me that
Like, you want more people. Yeah.
yeah, I want people to know, like, why you're so great and, like, why you have you have this knowledge in your brain that can help hundreds of thousands of people, almost like
Mhm.
Doctor Oz.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how people would call and be like,
Yeah.
That's what you're like a girl version of Doctor Oz."
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Without, like yeah, that's old reference, but I
Yeah.
mean, that's the only thing that comes to mind, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, depression, and
Yeah. So, yeah, so I think you asked, is it something you're born with or something that happens to you? And I think it can be a combination. I think that through your mom and dad's their health at conception, that can impact your foundations of health, right? And then you're born into an environment. I'll speak about my experience. So I'm the fourth of five kids. How often do you think my mom replenished her minerals and vitamins through her pregnancies? Never.
she
Never.
I don't even I
No.
just learned about mineral deficiencies, like, 6 months ago, and this
Right.
is 2025. Like,
Correct.
that was, like,
Yes.
40 years ago.
Yeah. So as my mom is aging and I'm the fourth birth out of five children for her, I mean, literally, you start with 100% and then you get down. I had about 40% of her nutrients, and my little brother probably got 20% of her nutrients.
Wait, is that like a forever thing?
Well,
Like
until she replenishes. I mean, unless she's, I mean, and this is in the 70s when she was having babies, the 70s and 80s. What were we doing back then? Well,
smoking cigarettes?
like, she didn't do that, thank goodness. But I mean, that's
That was
when
normal though. Like,
microwave
everywhere.
dinners came out. That's when fast packaged food was coming out.
Everybody had
Hostess. Yeah.
packaged food. Everybody had secondhand smoke exposure.
Frozen lasagnas. Yeah. So, yeah, going to a restaurant and I mean, not that my mom would go to restaurants because we didn't do that, but going to buildings and yeah, secondhand smoke all
And
around.
smoke in, like, a grocery store.
Yeah.
You can smoke at the post office. Like, you can you can smoke in a federal building.
Yeah.
Like,
This is crazy. And
I was a server at Applebee's in high school, and I worked in the bar section, and it was a smoking section.
yeah.
I would come home from work, and my eyes would be, like, so
Can you
bloodshot.
isn't it so funny they had sections? Like, "Oh, if you smoke, you can smoke here, but not there," and it
Oh,
was
in
the
the
same
same
way.
way. Like, there's an invisible line.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the early 2000s. People were still able to smoke in restaurants and in bars in Michigan. Because I remember when I was in college,
Yep.
I would go out, have some drinks, and I would my throat you would smell like, this is literally, like, 20 years ago.
Vegas, like, 10 years ago, I think you could smoke inside of casinos in Vegas, like
I think you still can.
can you?
Yeah, in casinos you can. It's weird, but yeah, you can.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so anyways, needless to say, you're are you born with depression or does it happen to you? I think we're born with predispositions. And again, it comes back to our DNA. Are we turning it on or off? Are we allowing it to express itself or not? And the way we express our genetic code or predispositions that we're born with is through environment. So there are 0 genes that cause cancer. There are genes that are correlated with cancer, but that's whether are we turning the genes on or off based on our environment.
This part is the part that gets me.
Oh, they've known this for especially Bruce Lipton's work in the 70s. He proved this.
You have to, like, take that information that you just said and then, like, time out and then retract and now break it down for me like I'm 5 years old.
Okay,
So,
I will. Okay. So say um like all your genes, all your DNA is she's 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 looking down at the desserts right now, you guys. Okay, this looks so good. Snickerdoodle. Oh, the things. Okay. So you take your DNA, which is like your programming, right? Like we all bought computers or we've all bought a phone, right?
yeah.
So you have all these programs on your phone. Now, do you use all the programs on your phone?
I mean,
Do you even know how to use all the programs? No. And are all the programs running on your phone all the time? No. They're only running if you turn them on by sending a signal, right? So your body is like the most amazing smartphone, smart computer ever existed. And the signals, and when I say signals, I mean the food we eat, the conversations we partake in, the thoughts that we have, how we move our body. Um, are we exposed to mold, toxicities, things like that? Those are sending signals to the body to say, turn on or turn off. And so that's what happens when we have gene expression.
Okay. So basically,
So, say you have some bad genes, and the only way those genes get turned on is if you do bad things, because that's what happens. You smoke a little, you drink a little, you worry too much, you're in bad relationships, you're stressing all the time about finances, you have mold exposure.
don't have no at me like that.
You have mold exposure at your home. You're eating fast food multiple times a week. You're not getting enough fruits and vegetables. Those bad genes, because those are not great behaviors, those genes are going to turn on and want to come out and say, yeah, I want to have a good time with you, quote unquote, a bad time with you. And then your body starts expressing. And I look at genes as expressing as a signal to say, stop doing that thing.
Mhm.
Right? But we don't associate it with that. So when you're having indigestion or heartburn, instead of taking, an antacid, it's
But
like, hold on.
that's our body telling us something that's
Correct.
important. It's like taking the time to like, if we have a headache, we don't have a headache for no reason. We have a headache. It's like our body is a magnificent communicator.
Hmm.
And every single time it's communicating to us, it wants acknowledgement of whatever it is that's happening.
Yeah, I make an adjustment.
And most times, even if I just tell myself, my back hurts, then it will like
Amplify.
no, it'll get better.
That your back hurts or it doesn't hurt.
No, if I feel like there's a pain coming in a certain part of my body
Yeah.
and I stop and I'm like, Heather, there's pain in this part of your body, like right now. It like dissipates a little bit.
Oh, that's weird. That's interesting. How weird. But most people, if they say that, then it will amplify it.
No, it like it's almost like if I just say like, "Oh, I'm feeling a little bit of pain right here."
Like you acknowledge it.
Yeah, if I acknowledge it, I've been doing it for like 2 years now.
Hmm.
And I've noticed it will like literally it just
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I have clients that they'll talk they'll talk about how their discomfort, we don't even like to use the word pain. Their discomfort is getting better. Their discomfort is healing. Their discomfort is lessened versus I have discomfort here because then it
interesting.
amplifies it for some people. I mean, it's again, it's language. It's what your mind chooses to do with it. And our minds control the biology. So our minds control the brain and the brain controls the biology.
That part is just so far-fetched for me. It is,
Okay.
because I think it's like believing in something that I can't see,
Mm.
you know? It's like,
Well, you believe in your cell phone. You can't see how that thing works.
I understand that I still believe in it to some
Yeah.
extent, obviously,
Right.
I'm using it. However, it's like, it's not a tangible thing. Like, the cell phone's tangible, but, like, the frequency that goes from one line to the other is not tangible. It's,
Right.
like,
Can't see
imaginary,
it.
but it's not. It's
Mhm.
legit scientifically working for a certain reason.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about our bodies like that and the energy in the body, it just
Mhm.
feels to me like,
What does that even mean?
mhm,
Yeah. I know it's so interesting because it's like you kind of go back like ancient wisdom and Native Americans and there was a huge spiritual component around energy and around rituals and it's just so far removed from the Western world. So it's kind of crazy. But okay, should we get back to the question about
the
depression?
depression. Well, yes, I think that my real question is, how can people use minerals to offset depression? And how can people use other types of solutions outside of being prescribed something?
Oh, yeah. So, one, getting sunlight first thing in the morning, midday, and then in the afternoon.
How much
So,
sunlight
like 10 minutes before 8 a.m.,
are you wanting? Like no feet or no shoes, like on the grass kind of sunlight?
any
Or
sunlight to hit your skin. Your
okay.
skin has photoreceptors as well as your eyes, and that will set up a cascade effect of hormones.
Mm.
One of your main hormones that we think impacts mood is called serotonin. Serotonin is what we consider your mood stabilizing hormone. So when someone goes on an SSRI, a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, we are claiming in the medical world that this is going to increase serotonin. Okay. But again, there's no way to measure brain chemistry. So how does this happen? I'm not quite sure yet. So, how do we increase feel good hormones naturally? So, we want serotonin, we want dopamine going on, um, oxytocin going on. All of these are going to make us feel well. So, sunlight is one. Also, eating things like pineapple, oranges, even lemon, like citrus,
And
like
even the cacao,
I was thinking cacao is a
it
great
is so
one,
good.
full of antioxidants.
And serotonin
Mhm.
lifting things.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So there's so many foods that we can eat that will increase feel good hormones, and then being outside, just being in nature. So even if the sun's not out, walking in nature, just sitting outside, even if say it's dark out, but you go outside and you sit on your patio and you're just listening to the birds or the sounds around you. This morning I went, the birds are so loud in the morning.
Yeah.
I go outside every morning and my dogs are like do 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 doing the thing, and I always am so amazed at how many birds I hear, and they're just like chatting up a storm.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's just
great.
like
It's
really
great.
cool. So there's that. So the food that we eat, very important. The sunlight that we get, very important. And then moving our body. So our body, when we move our body, this creates a little bit of adrenaline going on. This creates, again, we're asking those feel good hormones to come out and essentially play. And we flood our bodies with feel good hormones. And so our brains are the biggest pharmacy or the best pharmacy on planet Earth, right? By what we tell our brain and then what we physically tell our brain to physically do with our body can change the chemical makeup, right? So it's like, oh, I need a little, you know, serotonin. I'm going to go get the sun. Oh, I want a little adrenaline because I want more energy. Okay, I'm going to jog in place for 1 minute and I'm going to smile. So we're creating this opportunity for the body to feel in a way that we want it to feel. Um, and then also the conversations that we partake in. So it was really interesting. I call him a kid. He was in his early 20s. He came in earlier today and we were just talking about, energy and impact and how you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. And what he realized in this conversation, he was like, I'm you with all the people that I hang around with, meaning he's the light with the 5 people he hangs out with. Well, okay, that's good for them.
Yeah, but not for him.
What's it doing for you? So one of his recommendations on his recommendation sheet is I asked him, I said, is there one or two people that you look up to in the amount of happiness, success, joy, just like vibrancy that but you don't really have conversations with them? And he's like, "Oh yeah, my mom's or my stepdad." And I'm like,
He's right there.
right
Like,
there for you.
it's super
Yeah.
accessible, which is so great. Like, I was on a podcast earlier today, and, it's called the In Between podcast, and, she asked me, like, "What's one piece of advice that you would give to people that are, like, in the in between?" And I said, "Find a mentor or find somebody that you can work with, like a coach or
Mhm.
something that you can work with that knows more than you do about the things that you're passionate about."
Yes. 1000%.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel like the power and the value in that, it's tenfold.
Yeah. I literally just hired someone for that.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, all of the components, I'm good. All of the components of our life impact our mood, impact our health, impact our well-being. So, can we have a predisposition to have a low mood, feel depressed? We could. Can we solve it? Can we heal ourselves from depression, from experiencing depression? 1000%. Because depression usually is a side effect of something else going on, right? A side effect could be not great conversations. A side effect could be deficiency in fatty acids, which help with brain function. Deficiency in amino acids, which are protein. So if you're not eating enough protein,
Protein, it all comes back to the freaking protein.
yeah,
And
your neurotransmitters are not firing and wiring, and tryptophan, which I ate in the chicken that we just had, and it's in turkey and all that. Tryptophan is is great for serotonin production. And also tryptophan helps people stay asleep, fall asleep and stay asleep. That's why when you think about Thanksgiving, you're like, "Oh, eat the turkey, you're gonna fall asleep," right? It's because of the tryptophan in the turkey.
Is that what you recommended to me recently when I was, like, looking for something that would help with focus?
Oh, tyrosine.
Oh, tyrosine.
Yeah, that's another amino acid. But again, so if we're talking about mood, we're talking about focus, we're talking about energy, those all come back to protein because proteins are made up of amino acids. Amino acids are the foundational building blocks of life, right? So the number one abundant thing in your body is water, and the second most abundant thing are amino acids, proteins. So if we're not getting enough protein, and building our foundations of health, we're not doing so great. So that's why it's important to have protein. And then, like you're eating an orange right now, then the orange is great because that has vitamins and that has minerals in it. And it also has what's called easy water, which you also have a juice. Easy water is the stage 4 of water that helps water hydration go into cells, which is an amazing thing. Yeah.
Which is supposed to be what this is doing as
And
well.
then hydrogen water. I don't know, I've heard great things about hydrogen water. I don't know, like,
The
all of
benefits.
it, but I know, like, juicing is, like,
Huge.
huge for hydration. Huge. So,
Looks from my tree, by the way, if you just wanna try a little baby.
oh, yeah. I know we have orange, lemon, and grapefruit. You know, we've been juicing and eating.
It's pretty, like, potently orange,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, it's so good.
Mhm.
Really good.
Okay, so my next question is, it's a little heavy.
Okay.
How do you feel about this is real heavy.
Oh, boy.
How do you feel about about people being able to take their own lives?
Oh, you know, I've never really thought about this. Like, you mean because it's legalized?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is legalized in the medical community, which is already a community that has a lot of corruption and it's not great. So then they have a couple things.
It's profiting off of ailment.
Yeah, which is what the medical industry is all about,
Right.
profiting off of ailment. It's
Mhm.
not about getting people well and keeping people vibrant. We know that. That's not like a hidden thing. Um, at at the root of it, the core of it, I would say I'm against it. But again, it's like there's no absolutes in life. There's 0 absolutes, right? Like, we see things as if they're like, I see your body sitting in front of me.
Mhm.
Well, your body is really not this dense physical thing. We look at it as that, but it's a bunch of energy, right? So it's like anything we see or anything we think of it in absolutes, like this is right and this is wrong. So I think
Yeah.
there's always a
I mean,
balance.
right.
But what I believe in my heart and in my intuition and what I know from working with people is that people can get well. People can get well a lot faster than they think. But you have to remove the programming that people have had and you have to give the body the right things to do. So now you talk about, okay, well, there's people with terminal illnesses. And by the way, I've met quite a few people with terminal illnesses that weren't terminal. They got better, right? So I think sometimes to give people prognoses, I don't know, like I'm not sure that I'm all for that. I think it's good to know what's going on with your body, but I think again, if we talk about solutions and how we can remedy things and fix them, we should be in conversation about what's possible first and foremost.
Do you think that there is a tie to somebody wanting to end their lives or to, like, to deficiencies in the body?
Oh, yes.
That's
Like just you're not talking about terminal illnesses. You're just talking about someone
like the act of
who
doing it and, like, how they would get there and
like
their mindset around why they would want to end their life versus
oh, like someone who's suicidal.
I mean, uh, I was talking about controlled euthanasia
Yeah.
earlier, and I'm also talking about, like, the mindset of how people get to that stage where they're like, "I can't do this for one more day." Like, what is happening in somebody's body like that that is causing them to react that way, besides any other ailment that would be affiliated with it?
I gotcha. Okay. So we're not talking terminal illness. We're just talking about people that are suffering from like depression, psychosis.
Well, I just know through conversation with you that you've told me in the past that most times that people are going through challenges with ADHD, with certain things that are happening, with depression, with even thinking or feeling like they don't want to be the same sex, like
Yeah. Oh,
with
yeah.
all these things that they're really just deficient and
Yeah.
there's an imbalance in their bodies. And so I started to think about like when somebody is ready to pull the plug on themselves and they've
Mhm.
decided like they can't do it anymore. And I started to pull it all together with metabolism, with deficiencies, with all of these things. And I'm like, are these just things that people really strongly feel about because their brain isn't functioning properly?
Yeah, it's 1000%. It's a brain health issue. It's not, we sit here and say it's mental health. Well, it's not mental health, it's brain health. It's overall health. So yeah, I believe more often than not, people are deficient in nutrients and nutrition and movement and sunlight and vitamin D and all of these things. So if you give me somebody who is moving their body every day, who is getting sunlight every day, who is eating a well-balanced meal, who is in having positive conversations and has a good support system, um, that person is most likely not gonna wanna take their life. That just seems like out of this world that that would be the case. If they're feeling that way, then there's something in their foundations of health that needs to be addressed and that needs to be looked at. And sometimes it could be someone's eating healthy, exercising, they come from a good family, and maybe they still feel like, yeah, I just don't want to be here and I don't know why. Well, okay, could this be one, are you hiding something? Are you not having integrity with who you say you are? Um, is this a mindset thing? Is the mind telling the brain something that isn't true and the brain is telling the body to respond in that way? Like I don't believe it's ever just one thing.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at when you were saying
Yeah.
this. It doesn't sound like it's like one magical answer. Because in my mind, I felt like I know people that have treated symptoms of disorders with vitamins. Like
Yep.
one of our friends, her daughter has had, like, some real serious issues in her life, and one day she went to this, like, box of candy, she called it candy. It
Mhm.
was really vitamins, and
Mhm.
she downed the whole thing, this little girl,
Yeah.
and
I remember
it
you telling me this.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think our friend told, yeah, like, you particularly, like, to your face, and I'm recounting the story that she
Yeah.
already told you, and she was like, "Yeah, it didn't matter," because she knew that she would just take whatever she needed from those
Yeah.
things, even though she overdosed,
Quote
quote
unquote.
unquote.
Yeah.
Well, she told me that ever since that happened, her daughter has, like, never been the same. Like, every part
In a good way.
yeah, like, she feels like her daughter is, like, rehabilitated
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah.
And I was, like, blown away by that because
Mhm.
it literally was, like, a deficiency, and then I have somebody else that's really close to me in my life that you recently had been working with that I saw a massive change
Mhm.
in. And I was like, "How does this even happen?" And it all came down to, like, a deficiency, and so then I was listening to, Diary of a CEO podcast, and I was reading this book, Brain Health, and all of it was coming back to metabolism and how our body is metabolizing things, and it was all the same thing, like depression,
Yeah.
disorders, diseases, like all of these things are just tied to like deficiencies in the
Yeah.
body.
Think of it this way. If you went to build a house and you were supposed to have 100 raw materials, you're going to build a house. Let's say it's just a two-story house. We're not even building something really tall. We're going to build a two-story house. We need 100 raw materials and we need 100% of 100 raw materials. And it's like, well, you know what? I only have 60% of the raw materials and 60% of the 60% of the raw materials. But we're still going to build this house. Would you want to walk up the stairs of that house? Would you want to be in that house in a windstorm or a thunderstorm? Would you want to be in that house if there were earthquakes going on underneath you? Heck no. Because guess what? That house is going to have cracks. That house is going to end up falling down. Why? Because there wasn't enough of the foundational materials to build it properly. And then the biggest challenge that I see, and it drives me absolutely crazy, is people go on Amazon and they'll buy all these vitamins and they'll buy all this stuff because of how it's advertised to them. And when we supplement at Happy Whole You,
we test and we figure out what does your body need, and we don't supplement always and forever. We fill up the cup of whatever it is that you need more of. Once we fill it up, then we start to like cut back on it and go to a maintenance. But then not only that, it's literally there are synthetic and there are bioavailable vitamins and nutrients. And there's so much stuff out there that, they get celebrities behind it or they get, a lot of Instagram influencers and they start promoting this thing and you're paying $120 a month for it. And some of it is good, good ingredients and all of that. But oftentimes I find I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're paying $120 for this." And there is like they're not getting what they think they're getting.
Well, I know that you taught me a lot about there's, like, 3 things that I think of while you're speaking. One is, like, what are some of the major things that people are deficient in their bodies that they might not think about, and how could they, like, take a couple of steps towards, like, balancing their bodies?
Mhm.
Like, what would you say most of the people that come in here are deficient in? And, like, what would you recommend to the average person, like, to start with?
Yeah. Okay. So, minerals. So you got magnesium, macro minerals, magnesium, potassium, sodium. So the combination of those three people are deficient in. And well, that's where Celtic salt can come in and all that.
I just got this Baja Gold
Baja
salt.
gold. Yeah, that's good too.
Have you
Yeah.
had it before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a hand harvested salt.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have manganese, and then you have iodine, and then you have iron, and you have all these other trace minerals that, again, most people are deficient in. And the way that you can get those, you don't have to go buy a supplement. You can do pumpkin seeds, macadamia nuts, walnuts. If you don't have a sensitivity to nuts or seeds, they have a great amount of nutrients in them.
Mm.
You can do seaweed too if you like. Some people like to eat those little seaweed
I
things.
just
I know.
I know.
No, I just can't either. But so
Okay, so first up, magnesium. The
magnesium
first
and
one that comes to mind.
minerals.
Magnesium and the minerals you can get through the Celtic salt or some kind of a salt that is not iodized.
Yeah.
And then the third one would be, like, nuts and seeds.
Mhm.
And when you talk about magnesium, I know there's, like, 5 or 6 different types of magnesium or more, I don't even know how many out there. Is there
Yeah.
a specific one that you recommend and why?
There's 3 main ones that we use here, and they're a blend. Well, there's 4. So 1, magnesium citrate, which that does help move the bowels, and it's easily absorbed. Magnesium.
I heard that that one's, like, the least important one, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
when I, like, look at all the other ones that are out there, because I got magnesium from you probably, like, 2 years ago now, and I've been taking it every day in the
Mhm.
morning and at night, and one day I, like, was running out, and I was like, "I just need to have a backup of one here."
Yeah.
And we, like, look online, and, like, the citrate ones were, like, everywhere. It was so common, but
Yeah,
I, like
it's very common and it moves bowels. So people have a physical response. They're like, "Oh, it's working."
oh, I see.
Right?
Interesting.
But a lot of people are constipated, honestly. I have so many women that come in here and they're like, the first question I ask every client that comes in here is, "How often do you have bowel movement?"
Interesting.
And if they're not telling me, 1 to 2 times a day, then there's something not right,
Mhm.
you know? And some women, "Oh, I do every 5 days. My doctor always said that was normal, or every 3 days, or even every 2 days, but that's how I've always been." I'm like, "That is not normal." Yeah. So
Every that I
oh,
bath
yeah.
them every day,
Every
and
yeah.
every day, I
Yeah.
don't even, like, I was so accustomed to doing it that
Yeah.
it doesn't even, like,
Right. But
faze
that's
me.
not normal, by the way. That's not normal. From what I see, the people that I see, I would say 50% of them are constipated, and then you have another 30% that are having really loose bowels. And when that's happening, the pH is going up and down in the upper GI tract and the lower GI tract, and the body is trying to compensate. So what happens is you get really constipated, and then you move the bowels, and the body's like, "Come on, let's go." And then you end up having the opposite effect, which is you have loose bowels, and then you go from constipation to loose, and it's like this
I didn't
dance.
know what constipation was until recently. I think,
Yeah.
like, 6 months ago,
Yep.
I called you, and I was like, "Something's wrong," and you're like, "Have you drank water?" I was like, "No, actually."
Yeah. And you're trying to control things, and you have a lot going on, and so it's like
I was so in the zone for, like, 2 days straight. I don't even think I
mhm.
left my house, and I was going through, like, all this, like, tech stuff and, like, just
Yeah.
different things,
Yeah.
and I remember telling myself, "You need to drink water, Heather," and I just, like, did not move from where I was because I was so in it,
Mhm.
and I was
then I, like, had to go in the bathroom, and sure enough, I was like, "What's wrong? Like, this is the weirdest I don't even know what this is. Like, this is so strange." Yeah, I never even, like, experienced anything like that.
Yeah, it happens quite
Oh,
often for
real?
people.
Wow.
The other one,
Citrate or citrate?
glycinate is another one. That's more of an uplifting magnesium. Then you have malate, which is more of a calming magnesium. Then you have magnesium L-threonate, which is one that it's a smaller molecule and it helps cross the blood-brain barrier. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's different types of magnesium. Oh, yeah. So I mean, we
And
could
the
go.
one that you have here is like a blend.
I use a blend. Yeah. So it's just a blend of 3 different magnesiums just to help, and we put a little bit of magnesium in some of our other products too. Um,
But that's the one that you feel like most people are deficient in, is
yeah, like, I've heard stats of, like, 80% of adults in America are deficient in
wow.
magnesium.
And then how often should people like, the one that I have, I think you had told me to take in the morning when I wake up and then before I go to bed?
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's like,
Only during your constipation period,
oh,
right?
I don't know. I just take it once a day. I don't even
Yeah,
check. I think I take it right before I go to bed.
yeah,
So it's just once a day. Yeah, that's fine. And then you talked about how it's methylated.
B vitamins.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, only B vitamins.
Mhm,
Oh, interesting.
mhm. Yeah. There's different forms of vitamins. So there's more bioavailable vitamins and then more synthetic vitamins, right? So is it man-made or not? Right? Is it a pharmaceutical or is it an herb? Right? That's how you can look at it. So when you're buying, vitamins, a basic multi women's one a day, men's one a day, or, like if you go to your Targets, you go to the Costco, you do that, you can pick up their store vitamin and you can look at it and you can see that I can see. I'm guess an average person doesn't see. I know the things that Heather tells me all the time, what not everyone knows. And I just assume other people know. But it's not in this most bioavailable form. So you may say, "Oh, I got this for 26.99 at Costco, a 30-day supply of a multivitamin." Well, it's not absorbing in the body.
So your body is just only taking like the smallest portion and then just discarding the rest.
Correct. Or your body's having a hard time to convert those vitamins into a bioavailable form that the body can use.
Mm,
That causes stress on the body.
mm,
So, like, our
okay.
whole U that we have here, it's a liquid multi, people keep it in their fridge. It's 32-day supply. I could sell that thing for 120 bucks a month. We don't. I sell it for 59 bucks a month. And it has bioavailable vitamins. I mean, our B6 that's in it comes from lemon peel, and the body can recognize all the nutrients that are in that. We have fatty acids in there, we have amino acids in there. It's literally 1-ounce shot that you take every day and you keep it in your fridge, and it's giving you kind of like filling up those potholes, right? Filling up the foundations of health. So we know you're getting a broad spectrum of a lot of good stuff. It has fluvic acid in it, which is trace minerals in it as well. It's a fantastic product. And yeah, it's $59. And so you have people that are like, oh, well, this is only $26.
Hmm.
But then I will say
It's a difference of quality. And like most people, and
quality.
what you're paying for with that is like, that those ingredients are something that your body can recognize that will
Yep.
communicate with their bodies in a way that's going to actually give them a benefit.
Right, right. But then the challenge is because of, the world that we live in, some people are paying $120 a month on their vitamins and they're thinking it's the best thing when it's really just super expensive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're better off with the $59.
We don't know the difference. That's why I ask. And that's why I even bring up this whole like, I know depression is what we started on. And I thought it was really fascinating to know that like there are other solutions out there that maybe most people wouldn't think about.
Yes, totally. Okay, so I heard this statistic recently and my mind was blown, but it wasn't blown. Like I hear this stuff and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like my brain goes to like, "How can this be true?" Like I
Mhm.
feel like we live in a world where we think we're pretty damn smart, but I'm like, obviously not. So 85% of psych medications are written not by a psychiatrist, but by a medical practitioner that spends 7 minutes or less with a patient,
Mm,
which is
mm. Like a
crazy.
general practice
General
medicine
practitioner. Yeah. You
practitioner.
come in, I had a
Yes,
baby.
20 people
I'm
wait
sad.
to your
Here's a
toddler behind schedule. Yes, and you sit there and wait
yes,
5 minutes if you're lucky with the person that walks
yes,
in the door.
85%.
And they're just checking up a box at that point.
Check in a box, 7 minutes. I spend 2 hours and then an hour follow-up with every single one of my clients. And even in that amount of time, I'm like,
But that's exactly why I brought that 5 minutes
wild.
up to you because I was like, this is what other people are doing all the time, and they're doing it in a way that they don't even have half of the resources or the knowledge because they're not teaching people in medical school about ways to prevent
Oh, yeah.
ailments.
Most doctors don't even know they can write a prescription for food, for wellness activities, for vitamins, for herbs. Your doctor can write a prescription for that, and you can use tax like Flex
Insurance.
125 plans, health savings plans. You can use your health savings dollars, and we have people do it here all the time, that their doctor will we have a referral sheet, and if your doctor signs that referral sheet and gives you a prescription for Happy Whole You or for the vitamins that we sell, you can use
You
those
get
monies.
coverage on
You
it.
get coverage, but they're not trained to do that.
Mhm.
They don't know. Like,
Yeah.
they don't know that you can do that. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think Cassandra was telling you about it because she's at, the Open Door Network,
Yeah.
and she was saying that she has, like, different things that she can do that are kind of, like, creative
Mhm.
when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and some employers, because we work a lot with companies on their employee well-being
Yeah,
plans.
like ours.
Yeah. So, like, there are some companies that, one, like, they get discounts for coming here or working with us, but then also within the plans that they have or within the organization, they may say, "Hey, like, you get $100 a month to spend on any holistic wellness care of your liking, and you just submit the receipt every month, and then your employer, reimburse you $100." So we have that happens
That's
too,
cool.
and so people get reimbursed for those monies, and they
That's
can
cool.
use them here. Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
great.
There's so many things that are on my list here that I have for, common things that we've accepted as fact that are actually false. That's what we're chatting about. We started off with depression, and I had a feeling we would go down a spiral with that because
Mhm.
there's so much that's in there. But one of the things that come up for me is that gray hair doesn't have to be gray, that we have an ability to shift that. I think oftentimes people are I know for me, I just thought, like, once you start getting gray hair, like, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
it's part of, like, an age thing. Like, that's
Mhm.
what I always thought. And I started to, like, notice that, sometimes when a piece of hair would fall out, like, a quarter of it could be gray, and then, like, the rest of it would be brown, and then
Mhm.
maybe it would go back to gray. And I
Yeah.
noticed, like, transitions in my hair, and
Mhm.
that's when I had reached out to you, and I was like, "Girl, what is happening?" And you're like, "Oh, yeah, that's because 'cause you're deficient." And I'm like, "Dude, everything comes
Yeah.
down to deficiencies, like, what is
Yeah.
happening right now?"
Yeah, totally, totally.
And you had mentioned, black, uh, seed, what was it? You mentioned
Oh, yeah. Black sesame seed
yeah,
and copper, which black sesame seed has copper in it.
okay, so
Yeah.
basically supplementing our body with
Yeah.
and
I mean, eat black sesame seeds, right? First and foremost.
can you just get the oil, like sesame seed
Or
oil,
yeah, you can get the
and
oil.
put it in, like, salad dressing? Because
Yeah.
I was trying to think, like, I know
Yeah.
I'm ever gonna stick a handful of sesame seeds in my mouth, like,
Yeah.
very unlikely that
Yeah.
that would happen.
Yeah.
However, I probably could get, like, a capsule or something of
Yeah.
sesame seed oil or just get the oil and just
Yeah.
ingest it.
And and one thing that we often forget is I've heard the number around 30. We're supposed to have 30 different types of food every day to get that more balanced spectrum of nutrients. But people are eating the same things day in and day out. We're creatures of habit. I mean, I'm the same way. So like I have to like be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna grab a handful of pumpkin seeds. Oh, I haven't had a macadamia nut in a minute. I'll grab a couple of macadamia nuts. So like I like have to remind myself
To, like, create diversity
to
in our
create
body.
diversity in
Yes.
what you're eating.
Yeah.
And so I think like for everyone listening, a challenge I give you is to like track your food, just the diversity aspect of it. We're not counting calories or anything like that. But like literally just write down all the foods that you eat in a day and see, do you have 30 different raw materials from the earth?
Well, what I like to do when I go to the grocery store is or to the farmer's market or wherever I'm, like, getting food from, I like to try something new. And so I
Mm.
try something new in, like, every section I go to, like, in the produce section, in, like, the hummus section, in, like, like, all of the areas that I'm in, I try to find different like, one something
Like
new.
star fruit, dragon fruit.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
any one something new. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be new to me, like, it could be, like, new that week. Like,
Mhm.
so if last week I got bananas, then this week I might get raspberries or, like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just change up the fruits that I'm bringing in, change up the vegetables I'm bringing in, and, like, kind of challenge myself to not just go to, like, I always will get the small little mini peppers for my hummus. Like, I've been buying, like, the full carrots sometimes, or, like, I'll just try to, like, stay, like, creative, I
Yeah.
guess, with what I'm
Yeah.
eating.
Yeah. No, it's so good. It's so important. And I think, yeah, if we do things like that, we're gonna see our health and vitality and well-being rise. So
And then, the other thing that, I wrote here is there's so many things, like, we talked about how some countries and states will let people take their own lives, which we talked about. We talked about common deficiencies.
mhm.
We talked about magnesium, and then methylated vitamins, and I know that I mean, there's so much out there, like, fluoride is one thing that we've talked about in the past,
Mhm.
how people have always been told that fluoride is something that's
Yeah.
really, like, needed to be put in our water
Yeah.
and what.
Oh my gosh. I keep forgetting to get a thing of our toothpaste here because I ran out, and remember I told you and I was getting that crack right here
Yeah.
on my mouth. So I realized Tom's has,
The binding agent?
lauryl sulfate in it,
Ah.
which for some people, it can cause sores in their mouth and different issues. And, anyways, but I had switched that, toothpaste that we have here that I absolutely love, so we started carrying it, and, I ran out of it, and so then I switched to Tom's, and then that started happening, but then at the same time, I have a bite splint that I sleep with. And that bite splint, I clean it and all that, but I found that I can't fully close my mouth when I have my bite splint in. And so I do breathe out of my nose at night, but my mouth is slightly open. And so I can drool, on either corner of my mouth. So I was getting, um,
Right before you went to bed, you were brushing your teeth, and then
right.
your saliva probably had
That
toothpaste in
that
it.
stuff in it, and it was
Mhm.
causing an issue, and also because the other issues you can have is deficiency in iron, which I'm not, deficiency in B12, which I'm not, so I was looking up, like, "Why is this happening?" Because it's so random and weird, like, I've never in my life had that happen before.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so I tie it back to my toothpaste and to my bite splint, and
Mhm.
so the last, 3, 4 nights, I haven't been using my bite splint either, and I wake up and my mouth is completely closed, but if I when I go back to the bite splint, which I will, what I was thinking, I'm gonna tape my mouth shut. I know, because I have that mouth tape.
Well, I heard that that stuff people have been using. The other question is or not question, another topic that I was thinking about is the toilet paper situation.
Oh, yeah, so I didn't know about all that,
You
and
didn't?
well, I mean, I've recently learned about how there's forever chemicals, there's bleach, all of that in the toilet paper, and you're putting that on your personal spots that are open
Oh, and I
spots.
heard that that spot in particular is, like, the most absorbent spot of our body or something, like,
I don't know
there
about that.
yeah, like, remember that guy that came in here, the wrestler? He was like, "Your skin is thinner there for some reason."
Oh,
So, yeah, it, like
well, it's like the skin around your eyes, right?
yeah,
And the skin in your nose and the skin on your lips, it's very different.
it absorbs in differently, so it's, like, more impactful. It's more of a big deal for that
Interesting.
toilet
Yeah.
paper to be bleached and have chemicals in it and whatnot. It's, like, really harmful to us,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting. I reached out to a company that I saw that, you know, claims to have, really good toilet paper and not do all those things. And so I'm working on hopefully getting an account with them and a wholesale account and checking all that out. So yeah.
And then lastly, before we go, you said that you had a really big discovery.
Oh my gosh. Well, there's two big discoveries. But I can't get into both of them, so I'm gonna go with one. So, I do a lot with mindset and the body and how the mind and the body are connected and how our thoughts impact our physical body. And then I was realizing not only do the same thoughts that affect our physical body cause dis-ease, those are the same exact thoughts that get in the way of our level of success. So that one thought, one belief system, not only can cause dis-ease in the body, it can also determine whether you're a multimillionaire, happy, thriving, all of that, or whether you're struggling every day and blaming everything on everyone else.
Mm. Yeah, it's just the shift. Like, that's why it's so important for people to be able to, like, for us to tell ourselves, like, what we want versus, like,
Yeah.
pound ourselves from
But even telling yourself what you want, is it really what you want or is it what
Mm.
society is what you want? And we'll have to talk about that on the next episode.
Ooh. And then tease us on what it is that you discovered because we still have 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, so nothing is what it seems, I believe. Also, there's an infinite way of doing things, right? And I have a very fixed way of thinking um, that I've worked on, right? So I was playing Monopoly with my family, and I've played Monopoly for years. Like, Monopoly is what taught me to start buying properties at 22 years
I use
old.
Monopoly
Yeah,
every day of
like
my life.
every day in your life.
Every day.
Every
I
day.
tell myself if I was playing Monopoly,
Yeah.
what would I do? Because I'm not connected to fear in that game.
Right.
But in life, I'm connected to fear. And so when I remove the fear
Yeah.
from the decisions, like my whole life shifts.
Yeah. It's amazing, right?
100% amazing.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, so I was playing with the kids and Carl, and never in my life had I thought, usually you'll trade properties. Well, both my son and daughter had a property I wanted because I had the other two, which would make it a street, which means you can buy houses, which means you could buy hotels. So I made a deal with my daughter that if she gave me that one property, no matter how many houses or hotels I put on it, she would never have to pay
You
me
never made that deal before?
and she would get 10%
Of whatever you got.
of whatever I got.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because she wouldn't do it.
Right.
Then I did a similar deal with my son, and then my daughter had one railroad, and anytime you landed on a railroad, she would get paid $25. I had 2 railroads. I would get paid $50.
Right.
Now, if I had a 3rd railroad, I would get paid $75.
Right.
So I said, "Garrity, if you give me that railroad, anytime someone lands on any of these 3 railroads, you'll get $25. Right now, you're only getting $25 when they land on 1.
Yeah.
Now you'll get 3 opportunities to get $25. Meanwhile, I'm getting $75 versus the 50.
Right.
This is a win-win." So I'm like, how many other opportunity why have I never
Everyone
done
has
that?
to pay the $25 every time you land on hers too now, because now that's yours, so you just saved your
Yeah, I don't even have to pay on that.
Yeah.
So it's like, how many opportunities can we do to have win-win scenarios where both people are rising together? And that's abundance, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is abundance. We think, oh, well, if you have that railroad or you have that, then I can't have that. And that, like, it's so wild to me. So, anyways, yeah, I would love to talk about abundance in the body and life, all of that on the next episode.
Well, I feel like that was a really heavy, like, jam-packed filled segment, and, yeah, and I feel like we hit on a lot of things. There's so many other things that we could talk about around what are common things that we just have accepted as fact that are really not fact
Yeah.
in our society, and
Yeah, if
I
you guys could email or message, send us some things that you think are fact or that you thought were fact, and then you discovered that they were no longer fact, because we could talk about those and share those as well.
And that's what I was gonna say. I would like to challenge you into like kind of keeping an open mind around what types of things show up in your life that maybe we've just never questioned
Mhm.
and to like just be a little bit more mindful around the things that we just take for granted, like toilet paper. Who would have ever thought that like
Yeah,
every time we go to the restroom, like we're using something that could be poisoning us?
yeah, and toothpaste and
Yeah,
all the
they're so
things.
common. Yeah. So thanks guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.